Always a party at Patchworks. Let's get this party started. Woot, woot. Hi, everyone. This is Julie from Patchworks, and I am so excited that you're joining us for another Must Sew TV tonight here at Patchworks. So every Thursday night we come live at you at 7 o'clock, and that's both on our Facebook and on our YouTube channel. And of course, if you're not able to watch it live, you can always check back on either channel to watch it whenever you'd like. Tonight, I have Tammy with me at the keyboard, and she'll be able to pass along any questions that you have or answer things that you may have questions for her. Tonight, we're going to be talking about our Aurifil Color Builders, and for this month, we are going to be talking about the second month, which is our Stinking Corpse Lily. Ooh. So let's take a peek here. And for club members, you will get the thread box here, which has the beautiful variegated thread. So we have two variegated threads here. Let me hold these guys up here. And then we also have a coordinating solid. And those thread colors for you are 24, 23, 4250, and 4668. So today, about this corpse lily, we actually have some interesting facts for you because we were all really confused about this flower, and I just wanted to share a couple things with you. So I'm going to bring up our corpse lily here so you can see how beautiful it is here. And fun facts, the stinking corpse lily is one of the 3 national flowers of Indonesia. It has a strong odor of decaying flesh to attract insects to aid pollination. And it produces the largest individual flower on Earth, which grows to a diameter of 3.5 feet and weighs up to 24 pounds. Oh my goodness, that's larger than a baby. That's like 3 newborns. Oh my goodness. So we were talking, and we all thought that there was one of these flowers here at the Domes or in Madison. And no, that is in fact, what is it, Tammy? A corpse flower. And this is the stinking corpse lily, not to be confused. So we did a lot of research on it, and very interesting. So that is the information on our flower today. So on this particular pack, we have put together a combination of gorgeous fabrics here. So this year for our 2022 pack, every month, our club members will be getting some Patchwork curated batiks. And here I have this fun batik that has some dots on it, a red orange here, a peach, a yellow, a light brown, and a dark brown. I haven't included in a background for what your piece is going to be. And the bonus piece here, so this would have been the base piece, and then the designer here had put in a white where she actually appliqued all of these teeny tiny little dots on there. And we thought, you know what, we are going to take it easy, and I'm going to take a creative license. And so that is where we chose this cool spotted batik here. In the pack of papers that we have here, I just want to share this with you. So you have the colors here, color layouts. This is not to scale. And I am super excited. And then some basic instructions on how to put this together. And the one thing I am excited about, so not only do we have the petal shapes, but we also have them in reverse, which we like to use for our fusible, which we're doing. We have this here to show you if you're going to be laying out your dots. We have Patchwork's exclusive information where I have provided alternate cutting instructions for our dotted fabric. It is not reversed though. And then this month we do have a layout sheet so that we can actually use this for laying everything out, which is fabulous, 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 fabulous. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we are going to, what do you think? We get started with talking about how we cut these out. So last week we talked about how you trace these on your fusible web adhesive and cut them out. Okay, so for our fabrics, for the yellow, which is our flower center, I just wanted to share with you, you can decide where you want your flower center to be. So you could choose to use the plain yellow, or you could choose to use some of the other parts. And here, this might even sort of replicate the, I don't know, little guys, the, what do you call that in the flower? Are they stamen? Maybe someone from our studio audience knows what that element of the flower is. So, but we went ahead and we used our Karen K. Buckley scissors, and we used our Steam-A-Seam light. We did get in our Steam-A-Seam light on the sheets here. A piston. So a piston is what it is. Okay. What we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to put together this sheet, which can aid in your placement. It's a placement guide. And then we will do a layout. And Tammy, can you check the sewing workstation for our applique pressing sheet? Okay, we did not get that prior to our setting up here. Okay, let me set this up. And I still have our old light box here, our 1990s or early 2000s light box. You know, and it works great. We did bring in the the wafers and for the special orders, and I still would honor that. So those gorgeous light wafer boxes, these guys here, the wafer 2 and the wafer 1 and the wafer 3, I would gladly bring them in. They're LED 6,000 degree Kelvin daylight, and 19 by 14 here, continuous dimmer. This price on it is a prepaid price of $189.99, which is a price match for that online place. It probably is in that little spot downstairs that is next to the cutting table. Thank you so much, Tammy. And if not, well, we'll just fuse right to this, right? Because we are planning this. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I am layering this. It has an overlay of 1/4 inch. So I am going to position that, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some tape, and you probably would want to use some painter's tape. And I'm going to, let me move this over so you can see what I'm doing. I'm taping this to the side here. Now, if you were to tape on your actual light box, make sure to use painter's tape, because you do not want to gunk up this side, okay? And then what we're going to do is that we are going to overlay this. You can also use a glue stick if you'd like for lining up these pieces. And here we go. So that is how we are prepping this placement sheet. And I hear footsteps. Woohoo! So thank you so much, Tammy. Tammy makes all the magic happen on these production nights. So thank you so much, Tammy.
Did you say gunked up?
Hmm?
Technical term, gunked up?
Gunked up, total technical term. All right, so here we go. So what we can do now with our applique pressing sheet is we are placing it on top. Dun, dun, dun. Whoa, this is magic. And once again, I'm going to use a little bit of tape. I would probably use some painter's tape instead of this tape, okay? But here we go. So this is how we can build on our applique pressing sheet. And when we're doing this compound piece, we want to build on top. So we're going to cheat and we are going to look at the order of placement here on our pieces here. So we're going to start with 4D, which is our peach. Okay, so our peach here is the ring around the flower, or the ring around the center of the flower. This here, this is, the pistil. Pistil? Center parts of the flower, okay. Stamens. Stamens. Okay, so the stamens and pistils. Okay. So we are, see, you learn so many things when you come and watch the programs at Patchworks. Okay, so we have extra bright lights here. So I don't know if you can see this behind here, but we're going to layer on 3C. And it might be a little bit challenging now since this is such dark fabric for where our other placements are going to be. But you see, I really, really love this product with the Steam Seam Light because I'm able to pick it up and replace it depending on where I want to go. Then I'm going to come in, and since I can't see underneath this dark brown, I'm going to look at my figure 2 on my placement guide, and I'm going to see I want to come in and butt right up on the bottom. And this is also where it's helpful to realize how thick our fusible web is going to be, because we're going to have in this corner here, we're going to have not only all the layers of fabric, but we're also going to have those layers of fusible, okay? So right now we have 1, 2, 3, and we're going to come in with the 4th. So now the question is, okay, what do we think? Do we like, we can vote right now. Do we like this look, or do we like this look? Dun, dun, dun. Okay, let's get some responses. Let's see what everybody thinks. Which look should we take? A or B? Any responses, Tammy? What do you think?
I like the one with the lines.
Okay, so Tammy's choosing or going with the lines. Why not?
The first one, yep, the one with the lines.
The ones with the lines. We need to figure out how the polling feature works on this. There is a polling feature, so let's.
Everybody says the one with the lines.
Okay. Thank you, audience. I appreciate it. Okay, so here we go. Now what we're going to do is we are going to talk about building the petals. But remember, I told you that I wanted to cheat, right? Now that's a strong word, saying cheat. I want to take advantage of the fabric. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take each of the petals, and I have a coordinating, so this is 7, 7E, and I have a coordinating dot that goes with it. So what we're first going to do is we're going to place the dots on here. And we were a little bit jagged here just to kind of create it a little bit of interest in there. You could do something fussier or not fussy. However, and on my sheet that I gave you, okay, I said they were not reversed. I should have reversed it. I didn't. I need to figure out how to make that fancy on the printer. And so you would, with the light table, be able to trace it reversed, and that's how you would do it. And I also did not put on the center of it because remember I said last week that it's very helpful to put on the marking of what element this is. So when we traced it out today, and thank you so much, Lisa, for doing this for us before our presentation tonight, she had marked both of them as 7E. Okay, so this was our extra piece of fabric, which is an element of interest. I'm going to pull this one off first, and I'm going to prep all of these. And so once again, we're adding layers to what we're doing. And part of what I wanted to do with this was to still have that little bit of organic extra parts. That's not the correct word. I wanted to have a little bit of petal that still showed around here, okay? So that we could see some shading. Now, if we were super fancy, we might have put only the fusible in the center, I mean on the edges, and cut out the edges. It can save on bulk, but we decided for this basic class here that we are just using it as is, okay? I'm just going to prep these. Now, one of the things that we've had a couple people come in for over the past month is people who've never appliqued at all. And you know, our classroom, in-person classroom, is still closed right now. And what we thought we would do is that we would do something for the first time that we've done at all. So we're going to host a Zoom workshop, and that is going to be on March 22nd. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later, but that's going to be a 2.5-hour class held online, so you can be in your sewing room with all of the stuff that you need. And we are going to be working on some basic techniques, okay? And so you'll be able to see me, I'll be able to see you. You can even, you know, you can hold things up and show them to me. If you've never done anything like that, we can help set you up. But we are going to be doing that March 22nd, which is a Tuesday. And I chose to do it during the day. We'll see what the response is, and if we need to hold an evening event, we can do that as well. I'm not sure what the time frame is for everyone. So I need to start with this guy here, which is my 8E. And we can see where it is. So, and see, isn't it nicer when we know what we have here? Here, this is right here. I'm going to peel this back. And notice that I'm not using any heat yet. If I were using Wonder Under, I would have to use heat to set with where I'm placing this, okay? I'm just going to peel this back a little bit. Put this over. Dun, dun, dun. And then we're going to start with this guy here, which is, bless you, Tammy. I think she's choking over there. She's eating all the chocolate. Actually, we were fighting over the chocolate earlier. We need to get more chocolate for our chocolate drawer. Okay, so this is right here. And once again, I'm going to lift this up. I just love being able to build this on here. There are all sorts of different techniques, and Pat Sloan has a really great book called Teach Me to Applique, which we currently are out of stock on. I think we sold them all this past month. We'll have them back in stock. And we will want to be careful as we're rolling this back that we don't so we don't curl the pieces. 2 more. So this one is much nicer, much easier, much more gentle than the last month where we had 85 billion pieces. I just added the 5 more pieces with how we did this. If you would have done it the natural way, you would not have those. Okay. One more to peel. My hands are dry. Okay. Oops. And of course, you can always fussy or adjust or such. Okay, there we go. So you can see shading underneath my very light piece here, which actually brings us into the next component of what we're going, or component that we're going to talk about from what we addressed last month. But you can see here I laid it out. Before we transfer it to our background piece, we would heat set it if we are satisfied with where everything is. If you are not satisfied with where everything is, you can adjust it accordingly. And I think that it is a really nice layout. If you prefer to do stitching embellishment or do the original dot applique for all of the little spots on the flower, feel free to follow the original instructions for adding all of these dots as teeny tiny applique dots. I invite you, and I would love to see your show and tell if you make that happen. So Cynthia, isn't that placement guide so awesome? It does make life so much easier. And thank you, Tammy, for sharing that. We found some new element here. Okay, so I'm going to make this go away. And what I want to talk about now is how you might stitch it, okay? Because once again, I'm just placing it there. Now I'm going to show you Holly Ann of who's associated with of String and Story. I believe that's who it is. And she has done, you can't see my cursor as I'm doing this. You can see she did some just very interesting thread painting around the petals, and then had done additional quilting to embellish the different elements. There is on here, let me see if I can show you here. Oops, I need to make this go away. Bear with me for a moment. what we have set up. So you can do a variety of different things. You can do a straight stitch like holly-anded, or a more traditional way of applique like I have on the quilt behind me. That's one of Kim Schaefer's new quilts, and it's just the traditional zigzag that we're used to seeing. Or you could do a blanket stitch or something like that with your fusible machine applique technique. I'm going to delve into some of the show and tell that I have from last month for you for your Aurifil blocks of the month. And I'm going to start with Jackie, because Jackie, who is an awesome Patchworks ambassador, there's all sorts of great ambassadors that we have out there, but Jackie has done so much with with last month's block to show you different things, and I just want to pull this up to share. So let me see here if I can grab it. Let me see which one. Okay, so this is the first one that she did, and this is just as I had shown you, and she wanted to share this one here. She used the variegated thread to do a satin stitch around, but she wanted to share with that white flower how her leaf came and appeared behind. She then did it the exact same fabric, but in this one she cut away her leaf. Isn't that cool how you can see how that's different? We have this one, which is another version, and I'm seeing them as small as I'm bringing them up here. So this was her first version, okay? So she laid that out and she didn't like how she saw it. So then she did it again, okay? Same one, but she cut it out, okay? Now she did a flower with a black background. And you can see the petal overlay, but she cut away her leaves. And here is another version of the cutout, and just look at the shading that's in here and this blossom. I love how this is a little bit darker here. Did an absolutely fabulous job. Thank you for sharing all of this intricate work. We also had some sharing, and Betsy had done this, and she used a Jen Kingwell textured background. Love this. And here with the background, the leaves are not as apparent, okay, as we had seen with Jackie's background choice. And then Colleen, she used this one here, and then what she did is she did some thread painting to embellish certain things. So she did an edge stitch around, and then she did thread painting. And let's take a close-up here and look at that thread painting. Oh my goodness. So you can see here how around the star centers, instead of doing a zigzag or such, she did stitching back and forth. That's called thread painting. And then she also did elements veining in the leaves, which is just fabulous. And as I'm looking close here, around the edges of the petals, she did use a zigzag. So lots of amazing options for how you can do your stitching. So Deb is asking, what is thread painting? And thread painting is where you take thread and you are using, you can use your darning or quilting foot. You don't have the feed dogs underneath, so you drop the feed dogs, and you're using a quilting-like motion, and you are moving around and letting the thread decorate in straight type stitching around. So let's look again at this example. So in the center of these flowers, and I can't zoom in anymore on this particular piece, I apologize, but here in the center around that yellow, you can see how the thread radiates out in a stitching pattern. So this is done in a continuous pattern where she's going around the center of the star and stitching outwards. Does that make sense? In our, I'm just going to quick flop to page 25 here, 27 to show you. So one of the things that I want to share with you is in the Teach Me to Make My First Quilt by Pat Sloan, she does have a sample of her different styles that she does work with. And so you can see the blanket stitch, the zigzag or satin that we're most familiar with, and then the straight stitch, which are all common options here. So this is not talking about thread painting, but this is talking about the different styles of how we can edge things around. And Pat had used the contrasting thread here so that you could see the style of stitching that are done. So we are going to talk about all three of those in the virtual class on the 22nd. Okay, so Colleen has a comment that we are going to share here, and she did a very tiny, oh, thank you so much. Very tiny blanket stitch, 1.5 by 1.5, and used an ombre fabric for the background. Variegated thread for the center thread painting. It's fun, Colleen. So Colleen, how long have you been experimenting with your thread painting? Can you share that with us? And it might take, with the time delay, it might take a moment or two, and I'm so excited that you're watching with us tonight. Pretty much whenever I try something new like that, I just like to, just like Jackie did, where she made 85 different blocks, and 85 is an exaggeration there. But what you do is that you work on the technique, and don't be obsessed with, oh my goodness, this is one block, I need to make it like the perfect block. So make a test block, try it, try the different techniques, and you can then learn and expand your horizons. One of the things that I had done actually back before the store is that, and I was trying different techniques, and so I'd actually stitch different things out, and that's what I would hang around my design wall. And so I'd spend days and days with just playing with things. And I know, my friends would come in and say, well, it doesn't look like you made anything, Julie. I'm like, but look, I learned how to do this. I learned how to do this. And so playing with the techniques can sometimes be just as satisfying as making a larger project. So I invite you and challenge you to try a new task. Oh, here we go. So just last summer, that Colleen started on a panel and thread painted to shade flowers on a panel, and then just used them to make pillows. And pillows are a fantastic way to test a block, finish it up. You aren't committed to a whole quilt, and that's just a great way to try out something new. So thank you so much, Colleen, for checking that out and for playing with us. I really, really appreciate that. All right, so we talked about our block here, and we talked about a little bit of last month's block. Do we have any other questions right now? Okay. Make sure to ask any questions along the way if you have any comments or questions. We had popped in on Tuesday with a little pop-up trunk show of Kim Schaefer's new book, Penguins, Puppies, Porcupines, Oh My, 39 Baby Animals. And one of the quilt that's behind me is one of the projects. Kim has all of these different animal shapes, and I just love the baby eagle. You know, we don't see a lot of eagles represented in quilting patterns, and I think that's super cool. And these sizes are appropriate to use not only in quilt blocks, but also in smaller projects. And let's say you want to decorate a onesie or a bib, or, you know, a diaper tower, a diaper bag, anything at all. She even decorated a Shannon Cuddle blankie, you know, a little cuddly blankie. So lots of different things in Kim's great style. You can see all of these great shapes that can be used for different projects. And I love, love, love this. So we are doing a separate presentation that's more polished so you can see all of the different projects. And then we'll also have quilts hanging in our store so that you'll be able to look at them. And if you wanted to get started in applique or continue on your applique path, this is a great project book to work with and try out some great new things. Speaking of Kim Schaefer, I do have some new fabric to share with you, and that is her new fabric line that just came in from Andover. And Kim has been, oh my goodness, she has been designing up a storm, and she has previewed with me a whole bunch of amazing, amazing fabrics that I can't wait to come out and share with you. And thank you so much, Tammy. So I am going to share with you the Sunflowers and Honey fabric. We have two awesome panels to share, and I don't know that I'm far enough back to be able to show you the whole thing. But these are 24-inch repeat panels, and so it's either the black background or the white background. So can't see the whole thing, but this is super sunny and awesome. And let's take a look at the prints overhead. So there are, we'll count how many prints are in this particular one here. So we have sunflowers and stripes and hives and bees. Love those dots. And this one here, so I think it's kind of like it could be stitching or hearts or who knows what. And just that pop of green that we need here that ties into the petal or into the leaves. This one here, I love, love, love the comb, the honeycomb, and those bees inside. Love this black and yellow. Don't see too many black and yellow prints, and so for those of you who have anyone in sports or such that need black and yellow, well, there's a couple prints here for you that are the black and yellow, and so these two guys there, which are really nice. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 22 gorgeous fabrics in the Sunflowers and Honey line. So we have the Night Pollinator panel as well as the Day Pollinator panel, which I have right here. And the Day Pollinator panel has the black and white stripe for the border and then the white background, and then the Night Pollinator is the yellow stripe and the black background. So we do not have the yellow stripe printed as a print. This particular stripe here I think is pretty fantastic. It is green, yellow, golden, and into orange. So very interesting. The color might not come out completely true on the video here, but it's very interesting how that comes out. So that is super exciting. We have that fabric available in store, and I thought it was online, but I think I'm getting the evil eye from Tammy that it's not. She's like, I'm not commenting, Julie. Okay, so if you needed it, you can stop in, or if the weather is going to be too treacherous tomorrow, you can call us and we can hook you up. All right. So, who has any questions that you've seen today? Any questions about Aurifil thread? Any questions about our basic applique process?
Don't forget to talk more about the class.
Oh, Tammy wants me to tell you more about this concept here, concept class of what we're going to be debuting. And that is on March 22nd, which is a Tuesday. At 2 p.m., we are going to be having our first virtual class, and that is going to be for $25. And we will provide you with the basic patterns for stitching out basic shapes, as well as you're going to be trying out, we're going to be talking about how to set up your machine in different ways to be able to test out that blanket stitch and a zigzag and your straight stitch to achieve different looks. We'll be playing with fusible web adhesive, we will be playing with stabilizer, and we'll be playing with thread. There will be a class supply list that will require you to get some supplies in order to be able to most effectively work on this project. And the cost for the class is $25, but you would receive a 20% off on any class supplies that you need. This will be held virtually, and you'll be getting a link to be able to join the class. So we'd be able to have 100 people, but we are going to be limiting this class to 8 people because we do want to make sure that we can have a good hands-on experience that would be similar to what we would have if we were together. And if you were really interested in doing it, but the 2 o'clock time frame does not work for you, please let me know, because we could look at offering an additional alternate time. So let us know if that is something of interest to you, and we are excited about being able to broaden our horizons and be able to work on some new skill building in a more interactive format. And we have another question.
I put it up there. What was the fusible used in the Aurifil?
So the fusible that I used in the Aurifil flower is the light Steam-A-Seam 2. We talked a little bit more about our Steam-A-Seam, our different fusible web adhesives in the January presentation. And I love, love, love that Steam-A-Seam 2, light Steam-A-Seam 2, which is available in the sheet form or on the roll, and we carry it in the 12, 18, and 24-inch width off of the roll. The thing that I really like about it is the repositionable aspect of it before you heat it. And you could see there how I was building my flower and how nice that went together. Wonder Under is an absolutely great product, which is the other fusible of choice. However, since it does need heat to activate it, it would not work in the same manner for building and repositioning as we did with the flower. And then a question that Claudia, you didn't ask, but that you led into, is the I use for a stabilizer behind that, the Totally Stable. All right. Other questions?
So going back to the class, we're doing applique in this class. We're learning about applique.
So going back to the class, we are going to be doing our very first Zoom class, which is going to be teaching the fundamentals of basic fusible applique.
And can supplies be mailed?
Supplies can absolutely be mailed. That was the question. So you don't have to be in the local area. Give us a couple days to coordinate the actual supply pack of what would be perfect for this. It is going to be a month from now. We just wanted to make sure that we could get it out there because of some feedback that we've been receiving that since it may be best to in front of, it's kind of hard for me to on the fly be sharing a whole concept and then sewing and doing different things. And so we want to make sure that we can reach the level of detail we need to, which is where we thought, a personal class that then you don't have to even ask your questions in front of the whole world, just a few other people. That might be a better option. Did that answer the question?
I think so.
Okay.
Okay, so you threw out there totally stable.
Yes.
Where do you put it?
Okay, so the question is, with the totally stable, where do I put it? And that's a great question. So this is a paper-backed stabilizer, and it has a waxy property on one side, and that's the side that goes on the back side of your fabric. And let me see, do we have, I'm just going to grab behind the curtain. I'm going to check here. Do I have, I don't. Wow. My little fancy board here. Okay, so I just was looking, I'll just show you what I was going to share with you. So this is the fun board that we have in store here where, let me see, this way? Here we go. Don't mind me. Okay, so we were talking about this, but it doesn't show where the fusible goes. But if you have, since this is a smaller item, so behind the dog, okay, so we've positioned him on and now we'd be ready to stitch him, okay? So what we would do is that we would take a piece of this and put it behind this, behind the polka dot fabric. So like where you'd put batting, okay? But it's not batting. And then you'd stitch over it. So the waxy adhesive property, and I don't have my whole ironing board set up, so I thank you for asking these questions because then we can talk about and I can figure out how better to implement our information for you. You would heat it with the sticky side on the back side, and what it does is that it, instead of having to use some sort of spray based, you would heat set it on a temporary basis so you could stitch around it. That what that paper does is the paper adds stability, which means as you're stitching around it, your fabric's going to stay nice and flat rather than go, and I know that's a technical term, but what happens sometimes when we do our applique stitches is that it sucks in the fabric. So that's why when we are, puckers, that's a better word. Okay, so when we are doing this, it helps it lay flat, and we also want to make sure that our base piece of fabric is larger than the size we need it to be for when we're incorporating the quilt block in. So I would have this block, I would cut it at 14 inches. It only needs to be 12.5 inches when we put it into the quilt, but I would have it be 14 inches. And I think Betsy, when she posted her finished sample, she said, thank you for making sure to say to cut it bigger because it does in when you're sewing it.
Okay, so you put the stabilizer in the back of the base piece.
Yes.
And then do you pull the stabilizer off after you're done stitching?
Okay, so the question is, where do we, so we position the stabilizer on the back side of our piece, and then we stitch, and then we pull off our paper. Now, depending on where what type of piece you're working with depends on the level of the amount of stabilizer you remove. So let's just say you're making a pillow, okay? A pillow that you're never, ever, ever going to wash. Well, I might leave a little bit of the paper stabilizer on the back because I'm not worried about it. If I am making a quilt that is going to be given to a young child that I know is going to be washed a ton, yes, I'm going to want to make sure that from the softness, drapeability, that as much of the stabilizer on the back is going to be removed without compromising the stitching. So it's a little bit different if you foundation paper piece, and I know I'm getting like maybe talking too much here, but foundation paper piecing, you do need to take out all of your paper, and that's a little bit fussier, and you need to take out all of your paper because it has some printing on it and it might be regular copy paper or such. This is a more forgiving, thinner paper that won't dissolve in the same way, and so if there's a tiny bit left behind those back stitches, it's not the end of the world. Did that answer the question? And Tammy did not ask this question, but I'm going to ask it on her behalf. And that is, if you have a fancy machine that you do machine embroidery on, and you have that super thick stabilizer, can you use that on the back of machine embroidery or machine applique? And it's a twofold question. So there is a thing as too much stabilizer, and if you are simply doing some basic zigzagging, using super thick stabilizer might be a little bit of an overkill and also might be a little bit hard to get out. So that's why we really like this thinner one that we use here in store.
And it tears away, right?
This particular stabilizer tears away. There are other stabilizers out there in the world that wash away or cut away. This one tears away, and this is the one that we love because it's, in our experience, the most forgiving and the easiest to work with.
Okay, continuing with the applique questions, do you use an applique needle?
Continuing with the applique questions, do we use an applique needle? So why, yes, and wouldn't you know, I even have brought some extra supplies with me. So I like to use my non-stick needle, and I probably should, let me clear this off here so that dun, 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 dun. Okay, so let's look here. No, I just placed, I flopped. Okay, so this is it's a non-stick needle, super non-stick needle, okay? So there are a variety of different needles that are available that you can use. You want to make sure that you're using something that can accommodate your thread, especially if you're using a decorative thread. But this particular non-stick needle has an anti-adhesive property, which is really nice because, well, you're going through all of those layers. And remember when we were showing you this guy here, that you have 4 layers in this. Oh, this is really cool. I like how this looks. Okay, so you have a lot of different layers here, and using that non-stick needle will help you get through, and then as your needle isn't going to gum up as much, you just can sew longer without stopping. I also showed you earlier on, just to recap here, so this back pressing sheet, that's a version of this, the applique pressing sheet, which is a really nice Teflon. It's a revolutionary non-stick surface coated with Polylan. So I say Teflon, but it's Polylan, okay? And this one is 18 by 20. It's guaranteed for 5 years, which is fabulous. And I love that you can see through it. And you can fuse right on it to build your shapes, and then you peel it off and can put it on your background. The beautiful scissors that I used, which can be right or left-handed, are these great, perfect scissors, size large, Karen K. Buckley, It has micro serrated edge, comfortable soft handle, and it has a protective cover, which is fabulous because look at how sharp these are. And so you can really, really get in it. And well, our production team, okay, Lisa and Tammy, were cutting out our pieces before and they were fighting over the scissors because they're just awesome. We also carry the small size. We have that one in stock. There is a medium size, of course. This tiny one is really cool with the micro serrated. Itty bitty. But for cutting this out, these are really great. And we have another question.
What is your favorite iron for a project like this?
Oh, what is my favorite iron? You know, I should be an iron snob, but I am not. I tend to use the, I do like a small iron, and let me just grab my iron.
Is it Black & Decker?
It's a Black & Decker, and I eat irons for breakfast. Okay, so I like, and so I apologize to any person who, so I use the cheapy small iron from like Target, okay? So this is like 20, 30 bucks. It might cost more now because I haven't shopped for an iron in the past several months. I buy them in bulk, like 6 at a time, because even the really expensive irons don't particularly last. Now for piecing, there I am a snob, and I do have a steam station, which is a really delightful piece, and I have to show that all to you and have you all fall in love with that. But the thing that I like about my nice Black & Decker is that it's heavy duty, it can withstand a drop or two, and I also then don't worry as much if I do gum it up a little bit. We do have great products for cleaning off if you gum it up, but you know, if you have that $200 iron and you gum it up, you get very sad. So I do prefer an iron like this to a small iron, like a one of those little toy, I call it a toy, the mini irons or such that you see on a wand that maybe look like a curling iron. Those are really small and get in there, but the thing is that they don't get as hot as I like to set the adhesive. So that's why I like that iron.
What setting for the iron do you use for the...
So what setting for the iron? Okay, for what I'm going to tell you, it's always, always, always refer to the manufacturer's instructions. And I know it seems like crazy, but you know, formulations change, and I don't want to make bold assumptions depending on when you're going to be watching this, or what the age of your product is, or what brand that you have. So never assume what your product is. Always reference your manufacturer's instructions. And the reason why is that, especially on an item like your fusible web adhesive, too hot of an iron or too long of a heat can burn your adhesive off. And so if you burn your adhesive off, then it loses its stickiness, and then you get sad and mad because your pieces just fall off before they've stuck on. So that's why I am going to have you always refer to your manufacturer's instructions. Any other questions?
Nope, but Patty buys the cheap irons from Target too.
All right, Patty, you're buying the cheap irons just like me. Okay. So I just was looking down on the side here, and I remembered that I had some other stuff I was going to show you. So I know it's a little bit out of sequence, and we're getting to the end, but I just want to quick show you a couple things. So when we were talking about applique, I just wanted to share with you some real life examples of different styles that we have here in the store. And here is another super cute project from Kim here, and she has done, I'm going to just come overhead so that we can see that. Okay. And I just hit the camera, so that's why it's flopping a little bit. Okay, so here you can see how we changed, Kim, the royal changed out her thread everywhere here, okay? Really fun, changed it out. And then on this one, but this is an example of not changing out your thread. So this is an older piece from Kim and that has a little bit more of a primitive style to it, where she's using a neutral thread, the same thread on all of it, okay? And you can see how both look great. They just have very different looks, okay? Then we are going to look at in action what that straight edge looks like. So this is a Kansas treble, which is a little bit more of a primitive-y look. So here, there's the applique stitch. This is on pieced edge, and here this actually doesn't have, this one doesn't have fusible all the way to the end of it, so that you can get that little raggy look on there. And then here along this leaf, and I'm going to hold that up for you, we have a straight stitch too. So let's see if I can get that zooming up. Okay, can you see that? Okay. And then I had a contemporary look at a piece where I did something crazy to. Oops, pulled off my microphone there. Don't pull off your microphone. Okay, so in this one here, I quilted my base with some simple straight line quilting, and then I fused on some artsy petals that I then did some applique stitching on. Okay. And you can see on the back here that you can see this stitching, but on the front here, I didn't quilt through here. There's just a shadow because of how it's been folded, but this has just been placed on top. So it's just a different funky way of doing something. Last but not least, I wanted to share with you that it has been announced that I can continue to re-release the paper pieced animals from last year. So we are reopening a enrollment for the 2021 Color Builders. And if you are interested, please contact us because we can hook you up and you would get the thread capsules as well as fabric packs to put this all together. So our presentations will continue to be exclusively on the applique flowers. However, we are offering a set for your paper pieced animals. Yay! So that's fabulous. And if you wanted the whole year, it is the $399.99, just like the flowers. Okay, and taking a peek at that, I also wanted to share with you, we just got in some Aurifil color cards. So if you need to have the whole thread palette on actual thread samples in your sewing room, I can hook you up. So this is a $50 color card. You would get your Aurifil discount if you are an Aurifil Club member. If you are not an Aurifil Club member, I'd be more than happy to hook you up with one, and we can send that out, and we would send it out all bubble wrapped so it wouldn't get hurt. So I just want to let you know that those came in and we have these available.
Linda is asking if you can just get the embroidery files from last year.
So the embroidery files from last year are available with the Aurifil Club. So for $399.99, you can have the embroidery files along with 12 boxes of thread. So that is how it is available. So yes, and thank you, Linda, for saying that, because I said only the paper pieced things. You would get the embroidery files as well. And so I'm really excited because those are fabulous dynamic pieces, and so I'm super happy that those are available, still available to be purchased. Any other questions before we go tonight?
Claudia wants to know if she can still sign up for the 2022 Color Builder.
Oh, thank you so much, Claudia, for asking the question. Can you still sign up for the 2022? And yes, thank you. I must have paid you to ask that question. So memberships are still available. We have them available either $39.99 for the month, right? That's our $39.99 for each month for monthly billing, or $399.99 for the year. You get a thread box which has the 3 beautiful spools every single month. You get a printout of the pattern, as I showed you in the page protector envelope. And you also get the patchwork curated fabrics. This year we are working with the batiks, and that is enough to make a flower. You would need backgrounds to be able to complete a quilt. And as a bonus, you do receive 20% off of all in-stock Aurifil threads every single day here at Patchworks as being a club member. If you are looking to join for the 2022 calendar year, we'd get you caught up with a January and February right now, and then you'd continue along with us for the remainder of the year. And I'm super excited because how Aurifil has modified their memberships, subscriptions to shops like us, is that I am able to expand exponentially. So, like, I should probably take that back, because there might be like 8 billion that would be a problem. But let's say we would grow and double our size. That would be no problem. I'm not cut off as I had been cut off with memberships in previous years. So I'm super excited about that. And I still have available the original 2020 50 weight capsules, or access to the 40 weight capsules from last year as well. So I'll be able to bring those in special order. I don't have everything stocked, but I would be more than happy to bring in any of those capsules. The other thing that someone had asked me earlier this week is, am I able to special order any of the individual thread collections that might pop up along the way? And it's a qualified yes. So since we don't bring a lot of the boxes in, that might be a designer curated box, many of the times I am able to bring them in. Sometimes they are high demand pre-order only, and so if we miss out on that pre-order, I might be locked out. But most of the time, once they're shown and available, I'm able to bring in a la carte.
So I put her comment on there.
And thank you so much, Cynthia. This is a fabulous opportunity to learn new skill sets. So I appreciate you tuning in. And our goal for 2022 is to share with you, I mean, of course, I want to show you all the latest and greatest product, but like you, I like to learn things, and I want to make sure that I make good use of the time that you share with us on these Thursday nights or whenever you happen to watch.
With the Aurifil Club, are they new colors every year?
So the question is, with Aurifil Club, are they new colors every year? So the first 2 years, there were repeats of colors so it was introduced in the 50 weight, which is the orange spools, and then the same colors were repeated in the 40 weight. And that's really awesome, because oftentimes you're using, for 2 different purposes, you'd use a 40 weight and a 50 weight. And if you're using a 40 weight for decorative, you would often use the 50 weight in the bobbin. I always like to use 50 weight for my piecing. For 2022, this is back to 40 weight. It's focusing on variegated. We have 2 variegated spools and 1 solid spool every single month, and none of the colors have been repeated yet in previous years. I cannot speak to what's going to happen in any coming years. My guess is that this is a very popular club and that Aurifil will be continuing with their color capsules. However, I cannot speak for them. Any other questions?
That is all I have right now.
All right, so thank you so very much for all of your attention and for tuning in on your Thursday night. If you are watching from Facebook and you do have a YouTube account, can you do me a favor? Hop over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel on Patchworks, our Patchworks channel, and Tammy is going to be posting something there for you. Or if she's not, we'll post it to the comments afterwards. And we are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, which is super exciting. And we'll be able to do some other fabulous things once we get to our next threshold for subscribers. We also have all of our past content on there. We're going to be spending some time putting them into different playlists that would be easier for you, but you can just put like the Patchworks playlist on for hours of endless entertainment if you ever get bored and want me to be in your sewing room with you. So tune in every Thursday night at 7 o'clock. And Tammy's going to post to the comments right after. So thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate you joining us. Happy quilting, and we'll see you soon.